Hey everybody, welcome back to the Reba 460 camshaft replacement project. I'll tell you what, it's been, I don't know, a week and a half since I figured out what was wrong with it, you know, the wiped out cam lobe. And I had to take myself to school. I mean, there is so many differences in these 460s and I had no clue. I've ordered some wrong parts, I broke some parts, but I think I actually have everything here ready and cleaned up for reassembly. So I'm going to take you through a couple things real quick that I had to learn the hard way. Intake gaskets, we'll start with that since it's right in front of me. I ordered a set. I ordered most of my stuff from Summit. The first set I bought, I wanted the best I could get, so I got these really nice Felpros, but I wasn't thinking that there is a difference on your intake port size. These ones, you can see, are way bigger than the ones I needed. All I had to do was look at the old one. Another thing, what tipped me off that they were the wrong ones, you see there's no hole in these right here. I don't know if you can see that, but the old ones had a hole right dead smack in the middle there, right there. So I didn't even know what that was for, so got to researching that, and it turns out that these intakes have a exhaust gas crossover port that allows for heating of the fuel in cold environments. Now, I do live in a cold environment. It's like 20 degrees today or 30 degrees, something like that. Anyway, here in northern Michigan. However, it's aluminum intake. And I guess if you have these aluminum intakes, they are prone to heat soak. You know, aluminum conducts heat much better than cast iron. So there's a bunch of different Ford 460 forums, and I'm sure everybody can check those out. But the guy, the Mad Porter, a lot of good advice. He recommended, and a lot of people did too, to make little blank off plates, which I did. And I just finished this was the last thing. I used stainless steel 30 thou steel or material, and I just traced out that hole onto the material, cut it out, drilled holes, smoothed it all out. Now these gaskets are like 50 thou, 55 thou thick, and I also measured the old gasket to see if there was any squish or crush, and there wasn't really. So this 30 thou blank off plate fits in there just fine, and I'm gonna do that. The blank off plate is bigger than the port on at least I think it is. Yeah, it's bigger than the port on the intake, and it's definitely bigger than the port on the head. So it can't fall through either way, and then really all you do is, once you put your gaskets on, you can go ahead and set this in place with a little bit of RTV around the edges just to keep it snug, and boom. Now I drilled 5/16 holes because I do live in a cold environment, and I want a little bit of heat to go through there, just not a lot. All right, so that's the first thing. The other thing I saw, which I've never done before, is I basically made myself some positioning dowels for the intake. That way everything goes on as smooth and square as possible. I just took some like 2.5 or 3 inch 3/8 bolts, cleaned them all up. I chased the threads just to make sure they go smooth. I cut off the heads, and I ground a slot in them in case I need to back them out with a screwdriver, and then rounded them off a little bit, and I think those will work just great, one for each corner of the intake, and it should just pop right on, no adjusting, it just perfectly in position first try. Now my dumb, I'll leave it there. I made a really bad mistake. The old timing cover, it was really dirty, right? And I didn't bother. I was actually taking it apart to clean it up, getting all the bolts. I had a broken off bolt in the oil pan, which when I was going to take the seal out, the front of it was all sorts of dirty and gunky, and I didn't see a lip in here. And I started banging on it from the backside to punch it out. And I ended up cracking the front lip. Now it's not bad. I can TIG weld aluminum. I could have just fixed it. But I want to put this together and leave it. I don't want to have to deal with it. And for, I think, 2-day error shipping along with this whole cover plate from Summit, and it's their brand, Summit, I think it was 140 bucks to my door. So I'm going to double check the fitment so that when that goes in there, it's not hitting anything. I'll double check that before I actually install it. It comes, you know, if you have an electric fuel pump, it actually comes with a blank off plate, which is fantastic. And my cover has a, right here, it has a tube sticking out for older vehicles that had front dipstick mounting location. So you could either swap your old dipstick tube into this one, like, so mine just had a little rubber cap, you know, hose clamped on top of it. This one actually comes with a plug, so I can go ahead and pound that in there and that will plug that off permanently, and that's what I'm going to end up doing. The four-wheel drives that have a front axle, you have a rear deeper oil pan, so that your dipstick is going to be in the rear on trucks, generally speaking. You know, the old, was it the Lincolns? Some of those had the 460s or even a 429 every now and then. They usually had the forward low point in the oil pan, and those would use that style dipstick. So that's that. I picked up a Comp Cam's camshaft, and this is again from a 460 forum recommendation. It's the 256, the X4 256, and if anybody's interested in more details, go ahead and put in the comments. Honestly, I don't know how it's going to work. However, everything that I read was basically these EFI engines, when they were built, the heads themselves were cast with a restriction in the exhaust port. So to compensate for that a little bit, allow a little bit more exhaust gas out of the cylinder, this Comp Cam has a little bit longer duration on the exhaust lobes. So that's why I went with that. I stuck with the flat tappets just because I didn't feel like dealing with the roller cam set. And honestly, they're just crazy. You know, like $1,500. If I'm going that far, I'm just going to rip the motor completely down. Picked up this Cloyes double full roller billet steel. This particular timing chain set has all of the different keyways machined into the crankshaft gear. I'm gonna do straight up timing, and that's what everybody seems to do. Now, this engine was rebuilt before I got it. All of the emission stuff is gone, so I'm just not worried about it. Now, another thing, literally I spent over 8 hours one night trying to figure out what parts I needed, because every time I thought I had what I wanted, something else came to light, and I was like, wait, what? And so this engine, my engine, has what's called a two-piece eccentric fuel pump, or a fuel pump eccentric, all right? So this is the oblong piece that spins on your camshaft timing gear, and it pumps the fuel pump lever, all right? It moves the fuel pump lever. Well, I wasn't sure, like honestly, I didn't even know that there was a difference, but apparently a lot of these gears don't accept the two-piece. You have to have the one-piece. The two-piece is a little more desirable because you have a separate piece that spins and you have less actual metal on metal wear. This outer rim spins on the inner rim, all right? And after I had already ordered it is when I figured that out. And one comment, there were questions for parts that you order. One question was, can you use a one piece or can you use a two piece? It was like, there was both answers. Yes, you can use a one piece. Yes, you can use a two piece. And then there was even an answer, no, you can't use a two piece. I took the chance, but here it is. And this is the Cloyes, I think that's how you pronounce it. Honestly, I don't know. 93522X9. And I already bolted it onto the camshaft and snugged it down, and the two-piece spins just fine. So I'm not worried about that anymore. I think I'm all set there. What's next? Oh yeah, potentially the biggest issue with these old flat tappet engines is the zinc. There's not enough ZDDP in the engine oils these days because of the catalytic converters. I guess the zinc, as it gets burned off through the engine, through the engine oil, blah, 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 it sticks to the platinum and the catalytic converters and makes the catalytic converter less efficient. So EPA regulations have basically mandated that oil manufacturers, or engine oil manufacturers, put less zinc in their oil, which for a roller cam engine and roller lifter engine, it's not a big deal. There's not that metal on metal wear like a flat tappet. So I've got Valvoline VR1 racing oil, which has a higher amount of zinc, and for the break-in and the first several oil changes, I've got this Camshaft engine oil break-in additive. So hopefully that will take care of that issue, and honestly I'm kind of betting that is what caused this engine. Now whether it was me, because when I first got it home, the first thing I had to do was change out that water pump. I did that, I did an oil change, and I put Valvoline Max Life back in it. I've been using Valvoline Max Life literally in all of my vehicles, including my 67 Mustang with a 390 in it that I rebuilt myself and started using that Max Life. So I don't know if just because the 460, maybe it was already kind of close or didn't get the proper break-in, or literally all it had was a break-in and it only had a couple minutes on the engine after the break-in, or maybe they didn't even change the oil after the break-in. I don't know, but I have a feeling it has something to do with that. I do find it kind of strange though that the cam only had one bad lobe. Like everything else in there looks fantastic. Now fortunately, I changed the oil 3 times. You know, right when I got it home, I did the water pump, changed the oil. And then I heard that ticking the next day. So I pulled it back in, drained the oil, found that bent push rod, cleaned everything up, inspected everything, put it all back together with a new oil change. So it's been through 3, and you know, I put new oil in it, and so I've changed oil myself 3 times just since I've got it here. I think that is literally the only thing that saved the bottom end of this engine, and even that right now is still kind of up in the air. I could have just spent $1,000 on all these parts for nothing. Now for setting the timing, now there's a lot of so information out there on degreeing camshafts. I honestly, you know, I've built 3 engines in my life and I've never degreed a camshaft. I'm not entirely sure it's necessary for my application. From everything I can read, and maybe somebody else can chime in here, degreeing a camshaft is more like a sanity check to make sure that the camshaft that you ordered matches the card that came with it and matches what you want. Because honestly, there isn't really much you can do. If the camshaft is not ground properly and you degree your, you know, when I hear the word degreeing, I'm thinking of an action. I'm doing something. You're really just checking it. So now for guys tuning their engine for the racetrack, that's a different story. They would take this slotted gear here and set their valves, you know, so that you open or close, you know, so that you have, you know, before top dead center, after top dead center, all that kind of stuff. I'm not doing that. I just kind of want it stock, you know, straight up timing, and there really isn't much else I can do. Now, if I put it all straight up timing and I double check everything, and it seems to be really advanced or really retarded, you know, because I'm not gonna, well, I did make a degree wheel, a camshaft degree wheel, and I'm gonna throw it on there just to see, but I don't really plan on adjusting anything. Basically, as long as my intake and exhaust valves are at the same overlap, at straight up timing, that's where I'm gonna leave it, okay? I am not an expert when it comes to that, and I don't claim to be, so I did pick up this piston stop. I'm gonna use this just to double check my top dead center, even though I really probably don't need it. I could probably just use a straw or you know, a screwdriver or a wooden dowel, it doesn't matter, just to get it close, because that's all I'm really looking for. I don't think this engine, and my purposes with an old, you know, F350 Centurion 4-door Bronco, I don't need peak power and performance out of it. But honestly, just to see, I'm gonna try it. Another thing, intake bolts, they used a complete hodgepodge, different bolts. Every one of these is a different, well, not every one, but most of them are different types. They're all kind of beat down. There's 2-inch and 1.5 inch. I think there's 6 2-inchers and 10 1.5 inch, 6 2-inchers. I was looking at, I wanted to use ARP or stainless, And those sets are like 60 bucks. So I checked at my local hardware store, well, nut and bolt store or whatever. Anyway, stainless hardware, I was out the door for 8 bucks. All right, full set with a few extras even. So that's what I'm gonna use with those. And on top of that, for the intake bolts specifically, I'm gonna use it in Permatex, was it 592 thread sealant. Because those intake bolts go through water passages. Like you can see, that one is completely rusted out. So I'm going to throw some thread sealant on all of these just to make sure. I'll probably do the same thing in most of the timing cover bolts and the water pump. All right, so next I went ahead and picked up a 4 ounce thing of Redline synthetic assembly lube, and that's what I'm going to use for the cam. A brand new jar or a brand new bottle of the right stuff. I can't believe how much this is. The last time I bought it was like 10 bucks, and I thought that was expensive. This crap was $36. It better be amazing. And what's funny is I already have a bottle. It's like 10 years old, and I didn't want to chance it, so I got a new one. Wix brand oil filters, or Wix type actually. Wix brand is Wix type, but anyway. Intake's cleaned up, water pump, water neck is all cleaned up. Let's go take a look over at the engine itself. So here's the degree wheel that I made. I used a beware of dog sign and just glued it on there, cut it out. Hopefully that'll work just fine. I was very, very careful with this. Everything was cleaned. I vacuumed everything. There's still some junk in here, which I'll probably vacuum again one more time before I close it up for good. But it looks great. I'm really happy with this. All of the ports, I chased all of the threads with a tap, cleaned the whole front half of the engine, you know, making sure to keep everything blocked off with paper towels. I still need to rig up something to prime the oil pump. Now I took an endoscope and ran it through here and checked all of the cam journal bearings. Everything looks good there. I don't see anything suspect anywhere right now. I even used the camera and a couple flashlights, long skinny ones, and got as far down as I could looking at the piston skirts. I looked in the spark plug holes. Everything seems to look okay. So I'm still rolling the dice by doing this. But at this point, you know, what do I have to lose? You know, the engine's either got to come out or I can get away with doing this. Huh. I have a broken intake valve spring. Well, shit. That is definitely not something I want to put together this way. Look at that. Crap. Now I'm going to have to do an extra close inspection on the rest of them. Just the one. How on earth does that happen? Well, I suppose it's better that I find it now, huh? All right, well, we are on hold again. All right, so it's been, what, 5 days? It was Friday when I found that broken valve spring, and it is now Wednesday. I figured while I'm at it, I'm gonna go ahead and replace all of the rocker arms as well. A lot of these rocker arms are pretty worn on the inside of there. So I ordered a whole new set of these from Elgin, about 140 bucks. And then got a set of valve, well, not a full set, but 4 of these valve springs. And they look to be the stock valve springs. I'm not even gonna bother upgrading any of that right now. I don't think my cam is aggressive enough to require any of that, but that's what the broken valve spring looks like. And you can see, I mean, it looks, if you look at the brakes in it, it looks like it's been broke for a while. Okay, so I don't think there's anything really to worry about. And since it was broke so far down on that spring, the engine was still running fine. I had full compression on that cylinder. All right, so the rope method, you run your, by hand, turn the engine over until the piston's all the way down in the cylinder. You run as much rope into that spark plug hole as you can. Then you crank that by hand again, crank it over until the piston pushes that rope up and smashes the rope up. And you can see the valve doesn't really move now. It's pretty much all the way to the top. There's a little bit of wiggle there, but that just ensures that it cannot drop down. Now for the next part, I like to coat my keepers in some grease just in case they fall or drop. The grease, you know, with the grease on there, they'll just stick to whatever they hit. That way they don't accidentally drop way down in there somewhere, and then you're really screwed. Get our new spring compressed. Try to grab onto your spring as low as possible. That gives you as much compression on that spring as you can get. Looks like it. Okay, one's in. Okay, that looks like it. Yep. There it is, easy peasy. Now back this piston off, and just so you can see how much rope I used. So maybe, let's see, about 9 feet, I'd say, ish. Yeah, this is just like heavy duty clothesline. All right, so we are moving on. First thing I need to do is make sure that the number 1 cylinder is at top dead center. So for most Ford engines, it's the passenger side forward cylinder. That's what's called a piston stop. It just screws into the spark plug hole. You run this part all the way out. All right, now get my pointer set up using a chunk of copper wire. So all of that's good. Now we will run this thing up, the piston, till we hit our stop. There it is. We'll take that measurement. There we go. All right, 56. Third time's a charm. Now go clockwise. Jeez. 346. So now we just take these two readings, 56 and 346, and find the middle. So we got 56 is here, 346. What's the difference? 21 degrees. Should be top dead center. I would say that's top dead center, and that makes sense. My keyway is straight up and down. I bet you I can't get a screwdriver in this spark plug hole. Nope. Cool. So that works out well. Perfect. Perfect, perfect, perfect. All right, everybody, here we go. Jeez, oh, beats. What a pain in the butt. I'm trying to be really gentle with this. I don't want to knock any of the bearings out of place. Although I don't think that's going to happen. It's just not something I want to chance. That's not there. Use this one. All right. Okay. There we go. Now she's in. Get our thrust plate on here. I'm gonna assume that everything right here looks good. My timing marks are lined up perfectly, so I'm gonna go ahead and drop a couple lifters in here and see what kind of lineup I get. Now we will set it up on on 0. Okay, it looks like 0 to me. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get dial indicator set up. Alrighty folks, well, I've been messing around with this for like the last 2 hours. I finally figured it out. So my comp cam's cam card is screwed up. Right here it says at intake center line, and it should say at a number. There should be a number right there, and lo and behold, I don't have anything. There should be a specific center line number there. And I've been kind of racking my brains trying to figure out what's going on here, because I measured it all out. That 50 thou before and after top, the center line number. I took my measurements, I divided it out, I come up with 109.25. And I'm looking on my cam card and I can't find anything close to that. And I was thinking maybe I read the cart or read my wheel wrong, my degree wheel, you know. So anyway, I figured it out. I had to jump on the CompCam's website, and their list number for the center line, the intake lobe center line, is 107. So I come up with 109, so I know I'm in the ballpark. And for the way I have it set up here, I used one of my old lifters, actually 2 of them, stuffed them down in there. I used the push rod, and then just put the dial indicator in the hole of the push rod. And I know it's not exact. I don't need exact. I'm just looking for ballpark to, you know, sanity check kind of thing. Now I've done it for both the intake and the exhaust valves, and everything is checking out really darn close. My lobe separation, I'm coming up with 120 for a lobe separation, and they're saying it should be 111. Now the exhaust valve, you know, everything's a little bit wiggly, so I'm sure I am right there. I'm sure it's exactly where it needs to be. At least I'm pretty sure. So we'll have to find out. But top dead center I know is good. The lobe center height or center line looks good. So I'm pretty sure I am safe and good to proceed with the rest of this reassembly now. This is my first time ever doing this. There's about 1 million videos on how to degree a camshaft. And for my application, it's literally just a sanity check, just to make sure that the cam was ground correctly. So I'll be yanking these old lifters out, get everything out of the way. I'll probably reach in there with my hand and throw a little extra assembly lube on those lobes that have been, you know, running over and over and over again with those couple of lifters in there. And then we're off to the races. I'll lube up the new lifters and slap them in place, get the intake on, and we'll go from there. Hey, figured I'd give a real quick update while I'm doing this stuff. This is what those block-off plates look like now that they're installed. Getting ready to drop this intake on here, and these are those studs I was talking about, my locating studs. It helps to keep your intake manifold gaskets in place, and the intake itself once it's that time, which it is that time. I just figured I'd show you what this stuff looks like before I stuff it. And all the lifters are in. Everything is re-lubed under there. Torque this guy, everything's set up here. And I know a lot of people don't use these China wall gaskets. I'm going to. I really like these ones. They actually have these little holders on them that keep them in place. I put silicone underneath, corners, on top. And I'm going to set this intake on here in place, put all the bolts in, and let it sit overnight at just like 5 to 10 inch-pounds per intake stud. And then tomorrow I'll go ahead and re-torque them up to 25 to 30, I think is the spec. Alrighty, see y'all tomorrow. Alright, so it's been sitting overnight. I torqued all the intake bolts to, well, I think 15 actually 17.5. That's what I went to. So now I'm going to go ahead and crank it up to 20. Let's go 20. Yeah, 25 to 30 is what it's supposed to be. So I will crank it up to 27.5. My only concern now is that I put thread sealant on all of these intake bolts. So hopefully that isn't an issue. Hopefully this doesn't screw them up or screw that up. But it doesn't feel like it. I feel like they're moving just like they did last night. I'm hoping that thread sealant stays malleable for a while. It should be good. Intake should be done. I'll probably check these torques one more time before I wrap everything up, maybe in a couple of hours. Now another thing I just did right before this was dump a few quarts of oil down through this oil pan opening here to kind of flush out, and I am getting a little glitter coming out. And I put a quart down there and then used an air gun with a long wand to kind of force it down into the low part of the pan. I think I put like 3.5 quarts through it. Just old, old stuff that I'm not going to use anymore, but clean nonetheless. All right, well, we are on the home stretch here. Rocker arms, everything. I mean, you can see where we're at. The next thing I'm going to do is prime the oil system. Once I see good oil flowing through all these lifter or push rods, I'm going to go ahead and stop there, and we'll get the valve covers on and wrap up the last few little things here. Some of the things I didn't reconnect just yet because it's a pain in the butt to get the valve covers back on. I did make this tool yesterday. This is to prime the oil system. I took a 5/16 socket, tacked it onto a 1/4 inch extension. Then I have a locking adapter, 1/4 inch drive adapter. So hopefully this shouldn't be an issue. I am using a heavy duty Milwaukee 1/2 inch drill. This is my first time doing this, but I've heard a lot of guys say, hold on. The drill needs to really work hard. So hopefully I don't smoke check the drill, and hopefully this goes good. And honestly, we might only be looking at 30 minutes. I did already prime the fuel system. Basically everything had evaporated out of the line. So I just took a small funnel and a cup and backfilled all the lines. I separated them at my inline filter. Somebody disconnected the EFI system, obviously to make it a mechanical for the carburetor. So here we go. Let's give this a whirl. And you got to remember, this is, to prime this oil system, it is reverse, left-hand rotation. So keep that in mind. Oop. It's already trying. Okay, that's all of them. That worked a treat. Heck yeah. Took a little while to get that back number 8 exhaust, or was it 8 intake, whatever, the back one on the right, to start flowing. The rest of them started pretty quick. Get them screwed down. And once I get done wrapping up everything else, we'll go ahead and start the video back up and do the actual break-in. All right, well, everything's back together. I've done a couple lookovers. I'm not entirely sure about the timing right now. I'm just hoping it starts and I can get it to 2,000 RPM for the break-in. I'll adjust the timing later. This is not an interference engine. This cam is not big enough, I don't think, to cause interference if it is that far off, which it shouldn't be. My timing marks were perfect, straight up timing on the 2 gears. And then when I put the rocker arms on, I rotated it through by hand with all the rocker arms going up and down, and nothing felt weird there. When the harmonic balancer went on, I left it at top dead center. When the balancer went on, it was reading right at 0, so we're good there. So we got the Jeep pulled up here. We're gonna back this thing up just far enough to get the exhaust pipes out of the barn, and then gonna give it a shot. I'll probably put a little bit of fuel into the carburetor just to give that little extra boost to fire, and we'll see what happens. Keep going. Perfect. Here we go. The timing's got to be way off. So I'm gonna go ahead and just turn the distributor one way, try it again. If that doesn't work, we'll go the other way and try that. Must be the other direction. Sounds throatier than before. Not seeing anything smoking yet. No ticking either. That's nice. I'm just fluctuating it, you know, staying around 2,000, bumping it up to 25, dropping to 15, and back to 2, right in that ballpark. It's only been 5 minutes right now. All right, 12 minutes, everything's still looking good. Man, that exhaust sounds good. Can't imagine how much better it'd sound with some headers. Okay, we are 20 minutes in right now. I'm gonna gradually come out of 2 to 25 and get a little bit lower and lower. There's 14. There's idle. All right, I'm gonna call that good. Okay, I don't really see anything that is alarming at the moment. All right, so the oil is drained. I got it all sitting right here. I see a little shimmer of some glitter in there, which is normal. Okay, so I think that went really well. Obviously, it's a lot of work. It's a big pain in the butt. I got to finish putting the grill back on, and I'm gonna top off the coolant once it cools down, get the fresh oil in it with the additive. Again, I'm using VR1 racing oil because it has the higher zinc content along with a Comp Cam zinc additive, break-in additive. But yeah, I'll get the front end put on and then probably go take her for a decent test drive. So far, my confidence is high. We'll just have to wait and see though. I'll put out an update video here after the first 500 miles of the break-in just to, you know, give an update. But I think that's gonna wrap it up for this videos. Thanks for sticking around. If you got any questions or comments on the build or the project or just the truck in general or anything else around here, I'm constantly doing different projects. I might be doing a collaborative project here soon with another content creator, so stick around for that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Keep yanking on them bootstraps. We'll catch you on the next video.